Well, good morning. Good morning. Yes. Welcome home. Hello, beloveds. Welcome home. Yes, I'm glad you're here. I'm going to zip through some highlights for the good of the community. And we're going to get into the practice again. Some of you may remember to have announcements on the screen before the service. So if you don't read your emails, I don't blame you. I don't. And we're going to keep doing our best so you get to know what's happening in our community. So we're going to have the highlights of eBeacon on the screen before service, and we'll have a printout on the bulletin board too, in case you want to check what's happening in this next week or a couple of weeks. So please take a look at the bulletin back there, because today, St. Luke's, the Episcopal Church down the block, along with some folks in our congregation, and the Congregational Church here in Auburn will be doing a movie presented by Bill McBin, Surviving the Climate Apocalypse, not collapse. Well, same saying, right? One this afternoon. So they're going to be gathering at the UCC in the Congregational Church in Auburn. But if you want to join remotely, here's the link, and the link will be right there in the front, in case you'd like to join via Zoom. I also want to let you know that we're having a party. Party? Okay, okay, party. The block party, community block party. We're blocking the street and inviting our neighbors to come in, and open house, art show, music, auction, kids zone, kids area. We have some entrepreneurial kids with lemonade stands and cookie stands, bake stands, or pie in the face. They're figuring it out. So there are a whole bunch of teams figuring this party in a way to really show ourselves to the community. You're best kept secrets in this town. Do you know that? It's very, yeah. So we're going to be addressing that. I'm going to be a little louder, a little hotter, and you can join. You can join the team. Here are some spreadsheets with different teams. It's October 8th. It's a Saturday. If you have already signed up for one of the teams, don't worry, you don't need to sign up again. Somebody driving that bus will contact you. Otherwise, find an area there of your interest, or just to be a floater, right? Because we are hosting this party. So it's your party too. It's your home too. So please join us. Masks are optional, and we encourage you to wear it, especially if you have someone in your immediate circle that is immunocompromised, right? So it's your level of comfort. Do as you please. And when singing, masks are encouraged because you project. Some of you have very powerful lungs, and we love you, but maybe there are parts of you that we're not ready for, or just don't want. So feel free to wear a mask when you're singing. The Caring Quilt Ministry will meet August 14th at 11:30 a.m. Colin Green is spearhead driving that bus. UU The Vote is having a party on the 24th, and you're going to hear lots more about UU The Vote a little later today. And guess what? The Auburn Interfaith Food Closet does home delivery for homebound folks. So if you know anyone who is food insecure, doesn't make enough money to make ends meet, to feed their bodies, let them know. Auburn Interfaith Food Closet, our partner, delivers to those who are homebound. Thank you, everyone that participated in the Friends Gathering. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Brad. Last Sunday, it was really awesome to get to know you. And yes, Adele too. Really awesome to get to know you. And we'll have two more opportunities, September 25th and October 23rd. If you're not yet a official member of our congregation, that gives you, the keys to the kingdom and the private VIP lounge, and yeah. Thank you, Leo, for laughing at my jokes. I really appreciate that. Some pastors, some ministers have an amen corner. I have my, joy and blessings and celebrations corner, and Leo is the driver for that team. Thank you for that very much. I will be on a study leave starting tomorrow officially, and it's an incredible blessing. I used to think, oh, teachers, my God, they get the whole summer off. That is luxurious. Yeah, thank you. And then I start teaching and I was like, what? And then professors, get sabbaticals. And I thought, oh my God, yes. And then I start teaching in university setting too. And as a minister, ministers need sabbaticals and ministers need study leave, because every day is an expected day. And some weeks you don't get to study as much as you need to study in order to be prepared to offer you the best that we can. So I am so glad that you as a congregation recognize that as a need for the minister and for the congregation. So I will be away from August 8th to September 3rd at the San Francisco Zen Center. They offered me a residency, which is really amazing. But fear not, if you have any pastoral care needs, we have a pastoral care team, congregational care team in our congregation. And in addition, Pastor Ron from the Lutheran Church just down the street is willing to take any urgent needs for pastoral care. Also, Father Brian, one block down at St. Luke's, is willing and able. And Reverend Dr. Roger Jones from the Sacramento Unitarian Universalist Fellowship there, Society, is willing and able. And right here in-house, Dana and John T-Work, our senior Zen Buddhist teacher. So you feeling okay? You'll be all right? I'm gonna worry about you. Well, yeah, thank you, Tom. I believe these are all the announcements for the good of the community. I'm looking at Vicky here, yeah? Okay, all right, so if you're home and on YouTube, please know that you can join in on Zoom, and you're right there, and right here, and everywhere, so you can talk back, because talking back is an important thing. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not one for sermonizing. I prefer conversations and hearing what you have to say. So get on Zoom so we can hear from you, you can have input. That's right. With no further ado, Carol Coons will offer our official welcome this morning. Feel free to adjust as you like.
Welcome to the Sunday morning service of the Sierra Foothills Unitarian Universalist. My name is Carol Coons and my pronouns are she and her. And I'm really happy to be here today with you. And whether you're in person or watching at home, and assisting with the service, just to recognize the folks, are Suzanne Forth and Rick Ross, doing audio and visual, super important. Our welcoming team, Mary Lee and Stevie, I think she helped with that too. Thank you so much. Patty Leftridge on the piano. And our Director of Religious Education, Ann White. And Reverend Alex, this is a team effort. And you are also part of the team as active participants, and was really going to happen today. Our services cover a wide variety of topics to help us explore different spiritual paths, and it's our purpose to nurture every individual on their spiritual path while we are building a common faith based on our shared core values. And those include recognizing the inherent worth of all people and the quest for justice and equity in our community and in our world. In this congregation, we ask you to bring all of who you are, all of your questions, your yearning for peace and justice, your worries, your joys, so that these may be shared in community. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we welcome you to this community of searchers and seekers. And now, if you haven't already, please silence your cell phones so that we may be fully present in this time and place. Let us worship together.
Evening, everyone. You're invited to add your voice to the reading of the opening words by Kenneth L. Patton. Please respond by reading the bolded words on the screen. Good, there. This house is for the ingathering of nature and human nature. It is a house of freedom, guarding the dignity and worth of every person. It is a house of truth-seeking, where scientists can encourage devotion to their quest, where mystics can abide in a community of searchers. It is a house of prophecy, outrunning times past and present, and visions of growth and progress.
Thank you, Ryan. And you're following on your dad's footsteps, right? Ryan's dad.
My dad just went to normal church.
And he, I love that. I love that. Okay. Yes. And Ryan's dad is the one that makes the lights on top of the courthouse changing colors. Yes. Yes. So awesome. Thank you for following on. Yes. Did you clap? Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Our opening hymn is Let This Be a House of Peace. It's number 1054. So it's in the teal hymnal. In case you read music, one of our welcomers can bring you one. Otherwise, the words are on the screen. So let us stand, sing, dance, roll around. Amen. Shanti. Hallelujah. Right on, right? Okay. Well, it's time for story of all ages, and you know that I have a thing for us writing our own stories and creating our own stories. So remember the stories we created and last week for the ones that were here? What did we talk about? Anyone remember anything? You were not? You can remember if I was here. Fear not, we have slides to remind us. Yes? All right, so there's first slide. Remember this? The Carina Nebula Cosmic Cliffs? Yeah, what was that about? Here's stars, yes, what? Oh, yeah. Okay, wow, that's a deeper, yeah. So it's even beyond what I see it. What were we really talking about? We were really talking about seeking, right? Truth, a search, free and responsible search for truth. And we looked at the latest image of the cosmos or the universe, right? And that's where stars are born or were born, because that's billions of years light, right? That it may not be the same thing right now, but that's what we captured, and it's amazing. Next slide, please. Remember some universities that we discussed and how universities were started by religious groups, because the word religion means to reconnect, from religo, right? To reconnect. And also religious professionals had the ability and the time to study, because most people had to just be in the fields working for their sustenance. So the first university was started by the religious organizations. And remember, well, it's on the screen, right? The first one in Europe is in Bologna, yes? And then the first one in Africa is the University of Al-Qaruni in Fez, Morocco. And there's another university in Cairo, Egypt, that is not too far from that. Now, a big point I was trying to make last Sunday is that we know some things today, but we may learn better, not better things, more correct things. Like, remember when humans thought that the earth was a flat disk? Yeah, so we're learning, right? And we thought the planet danced around the sun, but it's not. No, the other way around, that the sun danced around the planet. So that's my point. I make mistakes, people make mistakes, and what we know today may not be the absolute truth. And guess what? Last Sunday, I was so worried about giving you the accurate information. And in my research, have you heard of AD? Yeah, so it stands for after death, but that's very Christian-centric. And I'm Christian, so that works for me, but it doesn't work for everybody. So it's better to use common era, right, for the time that is counted after Jesus' birth, or before common era for the time before that, right? As opposed to BC, BD, no, BC, yes, before, yes, before Christ. So I was so worried about that when I was doing my research, the research was about AD for the first university in China of Taizhou, that I added an extra B. And sometimes one single letter can make a huge difference, doesn't it? 400 years in that case, yes.
Oh, from what I understand, there were maybe universities in the ancient world, like the Romans had a military training center for their officers.
Yes, yes. So there were other universities that existed prior to what we have today as a standard for university, we consider to be a university. And as a matter of fact, the Karuni University and the Gaigaku Ryo in Japan, I also got that wrong. I put a B there, but it's common era, not before common era. It was 671. So indeed, there were other educational institutions, but the way that we think of universities right now, those are the ones believed to be the first ones. And the first one in the US was Harvard University, right? Yeah. And I took a lot of stabs at Harvard University, but I also lifted up one of articles and a lot of people, and my predecessor, Reverend AJ, was from Harvard. So first one was in Harvard. Next slide, please. But we used to think that the planet was a disk floating in a dish of water, right? But we know a little bit better now. Next slide, please. And today, we are looking at other principles. The fifth principle today is about democracy. And a good way to encourage democracy is through art. A lot of artists have been able to speak truth to power through art. And art has been really important. So I have a big question for you. Why do you think graphic art was created? Not if you're an art teacher, you cannot answer that. You're an art teacher, get a leg up. Why is there graphic art or paintings or mosaics? Why would they come up with that? Or cave paintings, right? Yes, another artist, but you're not teaching, so it's okay.
To represent the world.
To represent the world, yes. So some things we cannot, we don't have words for it. Some things are unsayable, right? So artists are very good at that. Musicians are very good at that. And we have a teacher and a musician right there and many around here. So you make art to express things that are hard to express in words and even in objects. And Mr. Hank has.
And there's another way of looking at art. There's a quote from a guy named Bertolt Brecht who said that art is not a mirror to hold up to reality, but a hammer with which to smash it. So sometimes you can challenge reality with art too. So can do
I
lots of things.
love that, because this reality, I think this art is talking about is the absolute truth, right? Or fixed truth. So art, if we smash it, which allows for us to think a little broader and think of other ways, right? Now, we have some icons here and some arts, right? Art books, paint, right? I'll be right with you. So what do you see up here, right? Music instrument. See, I'm not a musician, right? Anything else? How about over there? What do you see over there? What did Ryan light? It's a chalice, it's a sculpture, so it's another way to convey truths and meaning, right? As we search for truth and meaning. And why was that symbol created? Does anybody know? The logo was created. Does anybody know? One line answer for that. What was, oh, another wonderful teacher and Credo UU.
It was made by the Unitarian Service Committee as a icon to note that it was safe when they were smuggling stuff during World War II.
See, during World War II, right, when you couldn't have democracy, it was really complicated in some places, and people were being killed, literally, right? So the Unitarians came up with this symbol, and that meant that it's a safe symbol. Just like what else? Do you see any other symbol here? It's hidden. You have to look really hard. It's only outer, but you have to look really hard. The pride flag, thank you very much. The queer kid. Yes, of course. Thank you, Cooper. Yes, the pride flag, a symbol of safety, right? And guess why many churches their doors are painted red? It's painted red also as a symbol, especially, for foreigners or tourists and people that cannot read. They see, oh, a red door. It's supposed to be a safe place. However, not always. Queer people know that churches are not always a safe place. So thank you, Cooper. Yes. So that is a very important symbol, very important icon. Another very important icon. If we move one more slide, please. icon, the word icon, and some of you follow icons on Instagram and social media. So it comes from writing an icon. Writing an icon, it's actually painting a picture or doing a mosaic that conveys some mystical idea or some divinity, normally religious. And there are two examples over there. And the one on the far right, it's actually an icon writing, painting of an icon. So you see someone is painting a picture because back in the day, people couldn't read. They couldn't go to school. So pictures told stories and important stories. Next slide, please. You see, that's the UCC. We are hard acronyms for dyslexic folks. Any dyslexic in the house? Please, not alone. Not alone. Yes. All right. Me too. So that's the UCC logo. And we are the UU. Different, but we have some things in common, like an icon. That's one of their contemporary, very modern icon. What do you see there? Do you see anything in there, in that circle? It looks like a wave. That's cool. I like that. A comma. A comma. And you know why they use a comma? Because in their church, God's still speaking. In some churches, people say, oh, God said this, that, and period, or exclamation mark, or some hatred punches and things like that. But for them, like, no, God's still speaking. So just put a comma there because it's how they express their search for truth and to make their space and their church a safe place for asking questions and thinking. So I really appreciate that. Next slide, please. All right. Now you see this. What is this? A wooden table that is just, for putting stuff on. But this wooden table was one of the first symbols I found when I came here. And it was right over there. And that place is called Chancel, right? So if a wooden table is in an elevated space, and normally at a very prominent spot, something is special about it. So there's another name for it. What is a table that is very special in a religious scenario? Altar. And how do you spell altar? This is a pet peeve. A-L-A-R. Yes, not E-R. A lot of people spell altar, which is okay because we altered the altar. Because for us, it's a symbol. So it is not God. It is not absolute truth. It's an object that reminds us of sacred things, and we put sacred things on top of it. Yes? So Lynn Cooper and her wife, Vicky, primed this altar because it was pretty beat up. Let's be honest. So they primed it, and today you get to paint it. You get to carry it to the RE, and you have paint over here. There's more paint in the founder's room in the library. So you bring the paint there, and you get to paint it. And we want to invite you to paint your icons, your interpretation of the principles of our beliefs. Yes? And we're talking about an 8th principle. So even the principles are not fixed, and they're not absolute truths. They're truths to live into. So here's some representations in drawings. You don't have to copy that. And some writing in the back. So what do you think? We're going to keep exploring truth, icons, symbols that help people feel safe and welcome and able to ask questions and say, I don't even remember if I was here, right? So how do you feel? You good? Yeah? All right. So it's yours. Please take it away. And a couple books there if you want an inspiration. And there's more in the founder's room, in the cloth too. Founder's room. All right. Let this be a house. Yes. Okay. The books are heavy too. And don't paint them. They are very expensive. I'm still paying for them. Okay. Yeah. Student loan. Okay. All right, how do you feel? Are you with me? Okay, that holy moment. Yes? Holy moment. And something that we do when we come together is the sacred, the holy practice of joining one another in sorrows as we join one another in joys as well. And today in particular, we have some amazing joys. I'm sorry to do this to you folks, but do you mind going back to the beginning of the slide where we have the CYRE team? Yay! So yesterday we had a retreat with the Children and Youth Religion Education team that expands. It's always open, so any parent and any adult interested in children and youth religion education is always welcome to partner, because it takes what? Thank you. And I'm not going to name who said that, or I could. I'm just quoting. I'm not promoting any particular party. Somebody who made it very popular was Hillary Clinton, Madam Secretary, also First Lady. Yep, it takes a village. So next image, please. We gathered by a creek. We talked, we ate. Yesterday, we had the Children and Youth Religion Education retreat, thinking about the next year ahead. So I'm super thrilled, excited that the folks that could show up showed up, and the contributions that were made, and we have a wonderful year planned ahead. And we have Ann White as our new Children and Youth Religion Education Director. And when you see Leah, please thank her. She is concluding her term as the chair for that team. So please thank her for her valiant work. So that's a wonderful celebration that I shared with our director, with Vicky, that hosted us beautifully, joyously. So deepest, deepest gratitude. So those are a couple joys. And I have another big joy. If Leo and Janine would come forward, do you feel okay in being on the spotlight? Because they're still celebrating their 50th anniversary, right? Yes. And if you don't mind having a seat, and some people like to have renewal vows services. Some people travel to Tahoe. Hi. They all celebrated 25 right there, Randy and Maggie. Yes. So 25, 50. So they decided to travel instead of having a renewal, but they also want the community to recognize them and to bless them, because it takes a village to get a marriage going and working, doesn't it? All right, so I want to invite you to please take a moment, and whatever level of practice you feel that is comfortable for you, extending your hands or putting your palms together, whatever way to engage your body and send your love, send your light towards Leo and Janine. And I pray. Prayer is part of my spiritual practice, so I'm going to pray for them. You good with that? Yeah. All right. Don't worry, it's not going to hurt. God of love, known through so many names and many expressions, many symbols, I ask that you continue to be upon Janine and Leo. Continue to bless their union, their family, with their son who's here present today, their family throughout the country. Continue to bless them with health, with joy, with the courage to be there for each other, no matter what. Thick, thin, the unpredictable, and even those moments where they may ask why have, in a half a century? What is this? But we thank you, God, for their family, for their love, for their commitment to each other, giving us hope through their expression of love. Amen and amen. Thank you. Thank you, beloved. Yes. Mhm. Yes. And I wanted to lift up another family, Jason and Leah, and their daughters, their daughter Anika and Torin, their son. They lost a friend, a beloved friend, Nat Koning. So let us send love, good intentions, and light towards the Koning family as they deal with this tragedy. And Amy and Ken Evans, last night, they contacted me. Their elderly neighbor, who's a close friend, died in a car accident. So please reach out to them if you can and send love. Remembering those experiencing the loss of a loved person, the loss of a dear pet, the loss of ability and identity. May everyone in areas of civil unrest, war zones, neo-colonialist territories, predatory capitalism and climate crisis remain sustained by hope, joy, and peace beyond reason. May those who are discriminated against and persecuted because of their identity and physical appearance experience liberation and the root of liberation. May every person that has been denied body autonomy, dignity, and human rights reclaim their power. And may all of us dismantle the systems of oppression that desecrate life and crush souls. And we get blessed with the power of music to heal.
So we have a responsive reading. You're joined to invite me in this reading by Abraham Lincoln. And the bold print is for you. Oh, yes, sorry, thank you. As labor is the common burden of our race, so the effort of some to shift their share of the burden onto the shoulders of others is the great durable curse of the race.
As I would not be.
This expresses my idea of democracy. Whatever differs from this to the extent of the difference is no democracy. Destroy the spirit, and we have planted the seeds of despotism at our own doors. Oh, did we miss something? I'm sorry. Why should, I'll read what was missed. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves and cannot long retain it. And why should there not be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? Is there any better or equal hope in this world? Thank you.
And you got a second chance to practice forgiveness and of the minister. Yeah. Yeah. See, one more reason for retreating and studying, right? Doing slides at 1 o'clock in the morning, not cool. Doesn't really work. But as we continue to reflect, we are on the fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. And some of you subscribe to Auburn Journal, so you might have got a little article I wrote this for this last Wednesday. If you don't, let Vicky know, because she has access to all my files. She can send you a copy. But truth and democracy has been truly under attack, hasn't it? Or it's just me? Am I watching a different movie? No, okay. All right, same, right? All right. And you remember the biblical quote I lifted up last Sunday? Some of you do, right? And you know the truth, and the truth will make you free. So that's from the writers of, or writer of the book of John, chapter 8, verse 3. The democratic process is in place to 32. See, third time you get to practice forgiveness. And yes, the democratic process is a process where one can find the truth, right? At least the theory, right? That you can practice and speak your truth through that. And last Sunday, I ran out of time because I always want to offer you a full course meal. I'm not one for fast food, drive-through messages. And sometimes that's all you're going to get. And trust me, you're going to get those. But oftentimes I try to take a lot of time and prepare and offer you more, because you have the chance to say, yeah, that doesn't work for me, and throw that out. But there was a quote I didn't get to say by Bertrand Rousseau, who's an agnostic atheist. He's a British philosopher and logician and public intellectual. And he notes this in Analysis of Matter from 1927. We appeal to the ordinary perception to arrive at our physical theories. Yet, those same theories seem to undermine that everyday perception, which is rich in meaning. So if you're perceiving democracy in peril, yeah, right? You're like, I'm seeing it, I'm perceiving it, I'm feeling it. So I wanted to lift up that quote because it's also applicable to today. But last Sunday, I lifted up Daniel Kahneman in his article for the Harvard Business Review on noise. Remember that noise, and talk about politics and noise? But the term noise here is in addition to biases, right? It's all that gets in between one making a good judgment and understanding the truth. So I quote people and lift some people, but I don't believe in everything they say. Let me just put that out there. Yes? And I lift parts of what I believe to be really important in their work. So whatever I said about him, last Sunday, I want to repeat that and also add that I don't fully agree with him, because the main theory, and especially for those that don't like to spend a lot of time here, are more here or more there, whatever the case may be. Here's the one-liner for last Sunday. If you're like, okay, that was an encyclopedia. So here's the one-liner. His theory: algorithmic judgment is more efficient than the human variety. Yeah? Algorithmic judgment is more efficient than human variety. So in his study, he found that algorithms, the computers making judgments and assessments, are way more efficient than human beings, because human beings love truth and some work really hard to preserve the truth, nothing but the truth. Yes? But we all have biases. We have filters, right? We don't hear everything exactly as it is said. We don't see everything. We don't sense everything as accurate as a computer in making some judgments. And while I agree with that and I think that's great, yet algorithms are also biased in some way, because who creates algorithms? So we have to be very careful. Oh, I'm sorry, Suzanne, what? And a lot of them are white men. And thank you for the plug, because my daughter is studying to create algorithms, to be a coder. And she's been blessed by an organization that recognized that problem, strong bias. So they encourage women of color to study, and they support them. And at the end, they help with job placement. So yes, addressing that. Yeah. And talking about women of color in the sciences, Dr. Vandana Shiva is an Indian physicist and social activist. And she advocates for Earth democracy. Have you heard of Earth democracy? Oftentimes we just say democracy. But what did we reflect on last Sunday? Meaning. Meaning is really important. Democracy, here's the definition. Okay, what do you really mean by democracy? So she's advocating for a particular kind of democracy, Earth democracy, which is counter to corporate democracy. Like, corporations are people and they get to vote and tell politicians what to do. Are you with me? All right, so she also lifts up peasant economy as really valuable, because we existed as human beings for thousands and thousands of years through peasant economy, as opposed to corporate economy. And corporate economy is a new thing, right? How is it going? What's your experience of that? Okay, so she's advocating for that. A non-consumerist economy, non-globalized economy, non-predatory economy, because these are economies of grace. An economy of grace, not as you get grace because you're awesome and you're beautiful and you got to be educated, but you don't, because you're a teddy bear and you're brown and you're furry and you're on the floor. So you get what I mean by economy of grace, right? Now, have you heard of the golden rule? Remember the golden rule? That is the positive interpretation and the meaning of the golden rule, but that's been twisted too. Did you hear of this other version? Remember the golden rule. Whoever has the gold makes the rules. Remember this cartoon from the 60s? Yeah. So here's from the economicsociology.org snippet on this particular cartoon. So it's from The Wizard of ID, a classic daily newspaper comic strip created by Brent Parker and Johnny Hart in 1964 to satirize modern American culture and politics. The strip deals with the goings-on of the ran-down and oppressed shabby kingdom called ID. Thank you. Yes. It mostly concentrates on the court of a tyrannical dwarfish monarch known only as the king, which refers to his subjects as idiots. In some strips, the king is elected to his monarchical position. Did you catch that? Elected to his monarchical position, albeit through rigged ballots. The king also run an inept army perpetually at war with the Huns, while the unhappy overtaxed peasants, or what? Make little money as farmers and stable hands to keep modest living. So this cartoon, and it's wonderful to see Mama Joyce over here, because her beloved husband did a lot of politics and changing of the world with comic strips, right? Speaking truth to power. But this comic strip is from Jean-Jacques Rousseau, quote from 1764, "The rich holds the law in his purse." Another way of saying it. So the next slide, please. Here's the world, very colorful world, and each particular color represents a different form of governance. So blue is presidential republic, yellow semi-presidential republic, green republic with an executive presidency nominated by or elected by the legislator, orange parliamentary republic, red constitutional monarchy, pink semi-constitutional monarchy, purple, the royal color, absolute monarchy, the ochre, brownish, one-party state, green, countries in which constitutional provisions for government have been suspended, e.g., military juntas. Then dark gray, no constitutionally defined basis to current regime. They are in transitional governments. And the light gray, overseas possessions, colonies, and places without governments. Now, the little note as I'm preparing for the research for that particular chart was that it represents de jure systems of government, not the de facto degree of democracy. Because several states that are constitutional republics are de facto in praxis, right? Ruled as what? Authoritarian states. So, my lived experience with democracy. I was born in an authoritarian state. There was a military dictatorship in Brazil when I was born. It was instituted in 1964, led by 3 governors, including the governor of my own state of São Paulo. The Catholic Church, talking about institutions as opposed to religions, supported that military coup. The Brazilian middle and upper class, talking about the economic implications, they also supported because they were worried about the communist movement because they're going to take their money and their property, right? And their ways of having their fiefdoms. And guess who else? You said US? I love you. I love you, Wesley. You're always right there with me. Thank you. Yes, the State Department of the United States, through its embassy in the very young capital of Brazil. One of the numerous collapses of the Brazilian economy brought this dictatorship down. It wasn't foreign advocacy and, foreign policy. The economy brought it down. And in 1982, we had our first free elections for the national legislature. And then in 1985, we had indirect presidential elections. Have you heard of indirect presidential elections? You haven't? That's what we do here. We don't elect a president. We have an electoral college. Same thing happened in Brazil. That was like, oh, we're going to give you democracy, but vote for the electoral college. And we had an electoral college because the electoral college propped up the military regime, because the electoral college were the ones that had money and power. Get it? With me? Yes? Okay. There's much more. The following year, I watched the Berlin Wall fall. And that was the collapse of what used to be understood. Remember very dichotomized views of the world? It's a flat world, and there's, northern, southern, or the Western world. And so democracy and communism, right? Or capitalism and communism. Yeah? So the Berlin Wall falls, and with that marks a big, big symbolic, talking about icons, right? Of this collapse of another regime. And then the following year, I found myself living in rural Missouri as an international exchange student. And guess what the state motto of Missouri is? Salus populi suprema lex est, which beautifully translates as the welfare of the people shall be the supreme law. How are they living out their motto? Know anybody from Missouri? Okay. So here's my service to democracy here in this country. I vice chaired the California Nevada Methodist Federation for Social Action, mouthful. The social justice advocacy, I was social justice advocacy for the General Board of Church and Society, the only non-governmental building on the Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And that building was purchased by Methodist women through bake sale because they believed that if they were to change this country, they needed to be across the street from the seat of power. So they are literally across the street from the Supreme Court and Capitol Hill, right? Congress, right there. They bought it, blessed those women, because they knew that children were being abused and they needed labor law against child labor. So I was blessed to be a fellow there, and I also served as a Yale graduate and professional student senate. You're welcome. Senator, right here in your household, right? And in that capacity, I served the Yale Minority Advisory Council. So now, why am I saying these things? It's because I have a strong feelings about democracy, and some feelings that may not be very popular. And are you ready to be maybe uncomfortable a little? Yeah. So here's a question. Have we ever had a fully functioning democratic system in the United States of America? Thank you. I'm not alone. And if you think that it is, okay, I'm not gonna argue with you. Hasn't democracy always been an aspirational concept? Only property owners had rights in the nascent democracy of this republic. Yeah, and you know who they are. How long did it take for women to get the right to vote? Yes! And guess what? African Americans have never had equal rights on this land. In talking about land, our indigenous siblings, and we stand in the Southern Nisenan Maidu land. He inspired the Constitution, didn't they? There's a lot of story about them inspired the Constitution. and the democracy, but their model of democracy is the same democracy that we've been practicing? No, because their dignity and their sovereignty was stolen from them in many ways and remained relegated. They remain relegated to second citizenship status. I'm going to say some names here of places. Puerto Rico. Oh, beautiful vacation place. Guam. Yeah, also beautiful. The American Samoa. We even have cookies named after it because it's so delicious. The Virgin Islands. What are all these? The Kingdom of Hawaii. The fifth state, right? The 50th state. A kingdom of Hawaii was taken over, and it still is. And I'm not going to get into, is it beneficial? Should we give it back? Not enough time. I would love to, but not enough time. And some of you have heard me mention a school, talking about universities or places of education. The School of the Americas. Ah, yeah. All right. So if you haven't, Leslie Gill, Professor Leslie Gill, is the professor of anthropology at Vanderbilt University, whose research focused on political violence, gender, free market reforms, and human rights in Latin America. She reports that in 1993, there was a report released that listed 60,000 graduates, confirming that dictators, death squad operatives, and assassins had been educated at the School of the Americas. Dr. Gill has argued that the ground school not only trained students, but incorporated them into the ideology of the American way of life. Make America great again. By steeping them into a vision of empire that identified their aspirations with those of the United States. Our republic was founded as a refuge from a cruel monarchy, colonial oppressive systems. But have we really actualized true democratic principles? There are various expressions of democracy. Some are more functioning and holistic than others. I mentioned Dr. Vandana Shiva. So there's performative democracy. Why? You're just performing. It's a play. It's rigged. You know, it's a play. Yeah. But then there's transformative democracy, when you see things changing. Yeah. The needle moving and the arc of justice being bent. Yeah. Compassionate democracy. And as Dr. Vandana Shiva advocates, earth democracy. Earth democracy is a very ancient way of democracy because it is indigenous democracy. The center values of common good over the cosmos, transcending homocentric, egocentric, and predatory practices. So, beloved, first, we need to save what is left of the US democracy. Then we need to reform our democratic system so it really reflects our values and aspirations. Electoral college needs to be looked at. Gerrymandering needs to be looked at. Two-party system needs to be looked at, in my view. Lifetime appointments for positions made on party lines? And as Suzanne was mentioning earlier, neocolonialist practices, especially now through corporate domination and predatory capitalism. Campaign donations. Thank you very much. Campaign reform. Yes. So hear me out. This conversation is not about guilt. It's definitely not even about white North American guilt. Dr. Vandana Shiva reminds her own US friends, don't waste time feeling guilty. Do something. So let us focus on deconstructing imperialism, neocolonialism, neoliberalism, and corporativism as its outgrowth of and other exploitative systems of domination and oppression. It is also about us. So back in the ranch, the Sierra Foothills Ranch, we're going to have to decide, do we go back to 2 services or do we do 1 service? We're not doing that now. The board that you elected, yes, will be leading a discernment process to figure that out and encourage us to go beyond even democratic expressions that are the will of the majority that oppresses the minority. Or it's about me, the individualistic democracy. I get a vote and my vote is this, because for me, this will be better. So this is priming us for a process of discernment. And I trust that you're going to make an awesome decision. Hear more about that at a later time. But now we have Carol Coombs coming forward as our chair of social justice team, explaining ways that we can keep engaging.
So it was, nope.
It's on.
It's early in election year of 2019, the UUA introduced a program they called UU the Vote. And that was in response to our president, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray's challenge for us as Unitarians to stand up for our values by getting involved in our nation's democratic electoral process. So our social justice team decided to partner with Auburn Indivisible and the Auburn Democrats as well in writing letters with Vote Forward, a national get out the vote effort. And in that year, our Vote Forward coalition wrote 17,000 letters of the national 10 million. We did a great job in this area. Well, now it's 2 years later, and we're facing critical midterm elections, and our coalition is fired up again and growing. Some folks from St. Luke's want to join us, so we'll have a letter writing party with them. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be writing letters. I'm tired of it. I would much rather be working in my garden and playing with my grandkids and practicing Spanish. But we've seen what happens when white so-called Christian nationalists take power. It's awful.
Mercy.
And that's not the country I want to live in. So I'm grabbing my pen and I'm encouraging you to do so too. Betsy's going to come up and just tell you a little bit about what Vote Forward is, and then Reverend Alex is going to lead us in an action, a liturgical action.
There, you on.
Okay, thank you.
It's all right.
Okay.
5th time you get to forgive the minister in service.
I want to talk to you a little bit about Vote Forward today and how it works. It targets infrequent voters who based on demographic or voter registration will support our values, support the dignity and the worth of all people, care for the planet, and support the democratic process. Research-based letters make a 1 to 4% increase in voter turnout. It takes about 100 letters written to make that happen. And that's why the push to keep writing them. That difference sometimes doesn't make a difference in a place like Iowa in 2020, but it did in Michigan and in Arizona. Each of you have a Vote Forward letter here today. At the bottom is the name of the person to whom it should be sent. One thing about our writing these letters is they don't advocate any particular candidate or party. We just ask them to vote. When you write this letter, you'll write on the salutation the name of the person it's going to. And the most important thing you'll do today is do your personal response to the question, I vote because. Then you'll sign your name with your first name and your last name initial. I'd be Betsy M. And you're going to lead us in an activity about using these letters, okay? At the end of this, we'll collect all the letters that you've written in the atrium there, and we will mail them out to the people you've written to on October 29th. We also are going to have packets of more letters if you're inspired to send, and you can take some home. Let's see what we can do together, and let's work toward being able to celebrate after the election in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy, for leading that bus, driving that. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. So, beloved, right now, do you have a pen? No. Okay. So there are a couple pens, but what we're going to do is right now you write your name under where it says sincerely. If you like to send this letter, we'll send it for you. But democracy is not cheap. It takes time, and we're running out of time, right? Or are we running out of time? So we invite you to take this action right now and faithfully write your name under the sincerely part, and then after service to stay a couple extra minutes. And instead of first checking in with the person next to you, to check in with the person that needs to hear from you urgently, because if they don't, they may not exercise their democratic right because they think that they may be alone in those areas. So write your name down, please, with faith that there's still time, there's hope. And then after service, please fill out everything else that needs to be filled out and give to Betsy and Carol. And if you want to take a stack, more letters, they will give you more letters so you can keep engaging and practicing our principles and our values. You with me? All right. Okay. It's time for the offertory. And our partners this week is the Sierra College Rainbow Alliance. So please give as you feel encouraged to remain in partnership. commission and benediction, and we'll do the extinguishing of the chalice. If you like to sing, we'll do the closing afterwards. And please let us keep working with each other, yeah? And see this world turn around. Our time together ends. In the days before we come together again, may our actions match our words. May our thoughts be filled with love. And may we truly make a difference in a troubled world. And we get to join one another's voice saying, as we go forth, may we carry the flame of love and peace with justice until we meet again. Blessed be. Blessed be. If you have to go, please go. See you in September. Otherwise, let's sing, let's write letters, let's keep doing the work.